Hello everyone, I'm Aaron, the manager of Cleethorpes Dragons in GBR, and today I'm going to be talking about making you lots and lots and lots of money on Goal United. So, in my last video I talked about player values and contracts and when to sell players, so I'm going to assume you know all of that leading into this video. So if you don't, I would probably check that video out first. So this is going to be what I think are the simplest methods for making money, but hopefully making 2 to 3 million per season per squad slot you're willing to use. Shouldn't be too difficult for anybody. So let's make some space for some players. This guy you might remember from the last video, who I spent 4 million on about 12 weeks ago. So I'm going to get nearly 5 million profit from him, which is nice. Thank you very much. So let's head over to the transfer market if it ever loads. So what players should we and shouldn't we buy? Goalkeepers, no. You can only have 3 in your squad, and the training just doesn't work. You're better off elsewhere. Absolute blanket bang on wingers, because the sales values are really buggy. You can have one that's sat at 10 million sales value and then his value just drops to 3 million for no reason, and it will just sit there at 3 million until his birthday, when it might increase to 8 million or something. They're just so ridiculously buggy. I've reported it so many times over the years, and it's never going to get sorted. So just stay away from wingers as far as buy to sell is concerned. This will probably actually get better in Goal United next, because wingers are getting quite a lot of changes, but for now, stay away from it. So secondly, if you're going to be one of the teams that can't spend millions and millions on players, then you have to be careful about if your player is going to hit 2.2, 4.2 or 7.2 during their time with your team. This is basically because players actually decrease in value on hitting this strength, which seems a bit crazy, but it's because the headquarters building puts a limit on what players you can bid up to on each level. So when you've got the clubhouse and you can build up to players of 4.0 strength, obviously you're going to be spending a lot of money on the 3.8s, the 4.0s at the top end of what you can buy. So there's a lot of competition there, and it drives prices up, right? But then once you get the transfer department where you can build with 7.0 players, you're then going to want the 6.6, the 6.8, the 7.0, so all the competition is there. There's never any competition for 4.2s, because the players who will want the 4.2s can't buy them. The only people that can buy them are the ones that can buy the 7.0s, etc. So the value of 4.2s tends to be significantly lower than the values of the 4.0s. Now, this only affects the lower end of the spectrum, because once players start being worth millions and millions, that barrier of having the headquarters building isn't such a problem, because the teams that are buying the players worth millions and millions will tend to have all of the headquarters and loads of money anyway. But I'll give you a quick example. So if we put this on 19-year-old, and let's put it on 4.0. So we can see here sort of around 4 million-ish, and if I got to 4.2, sort of around 5 million-ish, pretty much what you would expect. But if we go a little bit older, to where players have the lower values and aren't so much in demand, now as you can see here they're worth about 700k, but if I then jump to 4.2, the value actually drops to 400k. So if you're going to be a team that's spending hundreds of thousands on the players rather than millions, you've just got to be aware of this, because you don't want this to happen. If you think this is going to happen to your player, your best bet is when he's a 4.0, just change his position to goalkeeper, because he won't gain any more strength then, and just keep him there until you can sell him for 100% of his value. So just a little thought for people to take on board. So what players should you be buying then? As far as stats and experience is concerned, having lower primary stat and higher experience is going to be better. This is basically because you've never, with these players, you're never going to cap on experience, but the lower the primary stat, the more training they're going to receive, so the faster they'll improve. So if you're looking at all these 4.2s here, you know, this is looking promising because he's got loads of experience, but that's never going to cap out and hardly any. So he's going to improve a lot more than this guy who's got 80 during the time he's going to be in your team. I mean, the other things, being diligent obviously going to help a little bit. If you're going to play him, being ambitious is going to help as well, because they're going to get that little bit more experience. But those are just like little things that aren't really going to make or break. They're just little things to keep an eye out for. They'll just slightly improve the amount of money that you will make. So basically I'm going to go through 3 fairly simple strategies on how you can make your money. So number 1, really simple. All you want to do is just find players who are going to have their birthday in the next 2 to 4 weeks, but are around the price you want to pay, and you pay minimum bid for these players. You never ever pay anything else besides minimum. So if we go and filter that. So say I wanted to spend 2 million on a 19-year-old, and 19 to 21 is sort of the age range you want to be looking at when you're doing these this strategy in particular. So say I want to spend around 2 million on my player, then you can see this guy is 1.8, but someone's already bid on him, so I'm not going to even touch him. This guy 1.8. His main stats a little high, but his birthday is 4 weeks away, so that's basically what you're aiming for. You're aiming for the birthday being in about 2 to 4 weeks, so that seems fine to me. So all I'll do is 1.8, so I'll just pay 1.822, and just be careful about the amount of numbers you put in as well, because I've put an extra number in before and bid 20 million instead of 2 million or something along those lines. So yeah, and that's it. You bid the minimum, or near enough the minimum, and you walk away. If someone outbids you, you don't care, because especially on this strategy, the players are just so easy to find. I bet if I looked through these, there's probably like a couple on every page that would be appropriate. Yeah, there's 2 more I found here as well. You know, they're really easy to come by, so there's no excuse whatsoever to be spending ridiculous amounts of money on. And to find these players, it is literally just a case of go through every single player who's around the sort of value you want to be playing. So we were looking at about 2 million, so we'd be looking at these two, and just looking at the birthday, and you're looking for 2 to 4 weeks in the future. So let's say we bought him, so let's say we won and his birthday's in 4 weeks time. So where do we go from here? Now if I run back to my main squad, I actually have a guy who I bought about 4 weeks ago. So this guy is very similar to the other guy I just bid on. I bought him for 1.5 million, and as you can see, it was nearly 4 weeks ago. This guy's birthday is tomorrow. Now we know his value is going to drop tomorrow from this 3 million, but because he's been in my squad for 4 weeks, his value is actually going to drop down to about what I've paid for him. So those 4 weeks is basically paid for the drop. Now is what I'll do tomorrow is he'll have his birthday, his value will drop, I'll then renew his contract for 12 weeks. His value will then literally be at what I've paid, and any value increase he has on that next 12 weeks is basically all going to be profit for me. And then I'll literally sell him a couple of days before his next birthday. And that's basically it. The only problem is just remembering to do the contract right. I mean, we talked about in the last video as well. Just remember that when these players have their birthday, you have to renew their contract to 12 weeks. Because if you don't, then, like this guy, if I don't renew his contract tomorrow, his contract's going to run out 4 weeks before his next birthday, and it's going to be a waste of time. I'm barely going to make any money on him whatsoever. Those last 4 weeks is probably when he's going to gain his most value, because as you saw before, the more your value increase, the bigger the steps are that increase. So it's a bit hard to mess up on this strategy really, as long as you remember to do the contract right, and most importantly, you never pay above that minimum bid price, because you just dig chunks out of your profit. So right. And with that strategy, that's the strategy I use the most, basically because it's the laziest strategy. The players are just so easy to find, and it's just a case of do it, rinse, repeat several times over, and just watch your bank balance fly up. Right, our second method. I'm just going to put this on for a sec, and if we go for 19-year-olds, the next strategy is going for players who have already had their birthday in the last 1 to 3 weeks. The theory behind this one is that you can take them into your team. As you know, they've got to be in your team. They'll get a 12-week contract, but in the last 4 weeks of that contract, as we talked about in the last video, they can be sold for 100% of their price. So as long as they've had their birthday in the last 1 to 3 weeks, you can actually buy them, get them into your squad, and sell them without them ever having a birthday in your squad, which is, as you saw in the last video, really key for value decreasing. So basically, once again, we're just going through and just checking everyone's birthday, but these ones you'll tend to find are much harder to find than the guys from the last video. So if we just skip ahead a little bit, and I've got one around here somewhere, I think. I've bookmarked one from earlier on. Okay, right, well, we'll just go on here. So here's one I found earlier. So he had his birthday about 3 weeks ago, which is perfect. So what we'll do is you don't have to play with his contract or anything. By the time his birthday comes around, right, we know there's 12 weeks in between seasons. So if that's 3 weeks ago, then his birthday is going to come round in about 9 weeks. So literally a case of just get him in your squad and just sell him before his next birthday. As soon as his sales value turns white, and you can get him for 100% of value. The problem with these players is, one, they could be a little bit more of a mess about to find, but two, there just tends to be a lot more competition for them, and you can never get them for that minimum price. And the biggest problem with these is they're going to be in your squad for not as long as the other players in the first technique, and because of this, they haven't got so much time to recover what you've overpaid for them. So just be careful what you pay. As you can see here, this guy that I've bookmarked, he's already got people bidding on him, and it's 18 hours before his auction ends. So if you can get the strategy to work, then it probably does work better than the first strategy. But it's just all that extra competition for players that is the problem. Right, so let's go for strategy number 3, the final strategy I'm going to show you. Now this is probably the most profitable method as far as how much money you make per squad slot per week. However, it's probably hard to have those squad slots full, because these players are even rarer than in the second technique. So let's go again. Right, this time we're going to go for 17-year-old players. Right, basically what we are looking for players who have a birthday and I'm going to be able to buy them and keep them in my squad for at least 4 weeks before they turn 18. Now, once again, it's just a case of looking through all the birthdays, finding the appropriate players and bidding on them accordingly. The theory behind this strategy is basically that after 4 weeks, as you know, you can then sell a player for 75% of his value. Now, this basically takes advantage of the fact that 17-year-olds gain value really, really fast, and as long as you don't go crazy with the amount you're spending on the player, then you should make a decent enough profit. Right. So you just check through them all, and you'll find one eventually. Here's one I made earlier, basically. So a 17-year-old, he's got nearly 5 weeks till his birthday. If I manage to get him for his minimum price, I'll probably make 1.5 million on him or something, maybe a million and a half. But this guy's only going to be in my squad for 4 or 5 weeks, so you can use that squad slot repeatedly throughout the season. But like I said, it's just about getting the players for the right price, and it's the availability of the players as well. Like I said, it's a lot rarer to find these 17-year-olds that have so much time, time till their 18th birthday. You can potentially do this with 18-year-olds. It'll be much easier doing it with 18-year-olds than it will be with 17-year-olds. But I don't particularly like it. It's nowhere near as profitable. Like, I've done it with this guy here who was 18, and I spent 400k on him, and I sold him for $1 million. So I made 600k, and as you can see, it was only in my team for about a month. So you can do it with anything above 18, and it's never going to work. But you know, it's potential. If you play around with it, then I'm sure you can make some money on it. So that is pretty much it. Basically, the conclusions from the video is, if you've got any spare squad slots, get them used up, get them working for you, and get them earning money so you can get silly bank bounces like this. Another thought is, think about the players you've got in your squad as well. Do you really need to have them in your squad? Could that squad slot be better used for making money? Because remember, it's a lot of money. Once you get to sort of the top end, you're looking at making 3 or 4 million per season. That player is costing you by being in that squad slot. So is that squad slot working for your team? The most important point to take from the whole video is, do not overspend on the players that you're trying to make profit on, because I've seen this so many times. Just, you know, there's plenty more out there. Just step back. These are not like players that are going to be with your team forever. It's just a temporary thing to make you money, and you're not making money if you're overspending. So right, that's pretty much it for now. I hope you enjoyed the video. Feel free to subscribe if you want to see my future videos. If you do manage to make a lot of money off players, feel free to let me know. I'm always happy to hear success stories. Thank you, and I'll see you later. Goodbye.